Chapter 31. There was one thing I didn't tell Tan. I landed at John F. Kennedy Airport in the early morning after 20 hours of flying. After going through the immigration and hauling out my massive luggage off the conveyor belt, I made my way towards the exit. The ambience around me seemed totally different. I, the man of average height in Thailand, had simply turned into a dwarf in this country. The throng of people around me were foreigners, and each of them embodied an ethnical diversity. The notion made me feel even more excited. I was thrilled at the breathtaking sight before me. I promised to make a video call to Tan the moment I landed at the airport, and fortunately, the airport had provided free temporary Wi-Fi. I then dragged my luggage and hid behind one of the columns. I called Tan on FaceTime. It was now 7 a.m. local time, which should be 7 p.m. in Thailand. Suddenly, Tan's face appeared on the screen, his features filled with excitement. "Bun!" Arrived. I held my phone away from my face, at a reasonable distance, smiling at the man on the phone. "That's good. I'm getting worried here. I've monitored your flight on the app this whole time." Tan grinned. I noticed he wasn't home. "So, how are you? Are you feeling stiff sitting on the plane?" It gave me some nods, but I've slept throughout the trip. I didn't suffer as much as I thought. "What are you up to right now?" "I was teaching." I frowned. "Are you seriously picking up my call right now?" Tan laughed. "I couldn't ignore your call, unfortunately. I've told my students that my significant other has called." I let out a sigh. Careful, they would be unimpressed. Silly me, I forgot to text you first and see if you were available. "It's fine. Are you still at the airport?" "Yeah." "How are you supposed to get to your place?" I paused. "Taxi. Tan? I'm using the airport's free Wi-Fi right now. I don't have long. When I get a SIM card, I'll call you back." "Okay, cool." Tan drew his phone closer to his face, giving me a clear view of his mouth on the screen. "I miss you." "I miss you too. I'll call you later." I ended the call and looked down at the phone in my hand silently for a moment. Then I opened up Facebook Messenger and hit a call button. "Hello?" "I'm here." I spoke to someone on the cell phone. I stared aimlessly outside the window at the buildings. A heater in the car was warm enough that I had to take off my jacket. Come to think of it, vehicles in New York were not that different from those we used in Thailand. There were tons of familiar Japanese cars everywhere. I was thrilled and excited at the scene before me. I even found the strange-looking bus stop and stared at it as far as my eyes could see. The man on the driver's seat turned his gaze to me and chuckled. "Is it like Bangkok?" "Yeah, the traffic's also awful there." I looked up at the railways that were built across this road. "It's like this in the big cities, especially during rush hour." We were quiet for a while before he broke the silence with a quiet voice. "How are you, Bun?" I turned to the man on the driver's seat, who also looked at me in the motionless car. "I'm fine. You?" I made a decision to send a friend request to Tar on Facebook on the day I won a scholarship to study at the University Hospital in New York. I only did it because I wanted information about apartments for international students and livelihood in the United States from him, since Tar was the only person I knew who lived there. I'd gotten tons of information about housing and transportation details around New York from him, which was very useful, if I might add. Tar and I got in touch with each other before Tan and I even started dating. I decided that it would be best if Tan didn't know about this because of his childish jealousy. We would probably end up sabotaging our relationship in the process. "Nothing awful. My Thai restaurant is going well. I'll take you there for supper in the evening." I stared at the man I hadn't seen for over 12 years. Tar was still a handsome man. He wore black framed glasses and a brown leather jacket with a gray scarf around his neck. "Tar, I wanted to ask you something." "Hmm?" Tar raised his brows. His eyes returned to the road when the vehicles around us began to move again. Do you know a woman named Prey? There was a perplexed look on Tar's face. I know like 3 or 4 girls with that name. You gotta be more specific. Prey, my ex-girlfriend from last year? Tar trailed off for a second. How could I know your ex? We haven't spoken since we broke up. Oh, never mind then. Frankly, what Prey had told me was still eating me up. The number 1 suspect was Tar, but he had just denied my doubt. Where's your boyfriend, by the way? Steve is probably still at the hospital. He had a night shift last night. He'd probably head home to sleep all day, said Tar with a smile. Nursing career tires him out, I tell you. He always complains about the endless demands of his patients. Steve, or Steve Ying, was a Chinese American who has lived in New York since birth. It wasn't my intention to take a glimpse at the man's profile, but when his profile picture appeared next to Tar's, I couldn't help but look him up out of innate curiosity. That's why I choose to work with dead people. You see, they're not demanding. Tar laughed. Oh yeah, they couldn't complain anyway. I'll wake Steve, and let's have dinner together, getting to know each other. Just don't tell Steve about our past. You could tell him we were friends back in Thailand. Don't want to get you in trouble, do we? Don't worry. I still want to have a boyfriend, thank you very much. We burst out laughing at the same time. And how about you, Bun? How's your love life? Still dating women? Dating women didn't work out so well, so I have a boyfriend now. You finally accepted who you really are, eh? Tar stated before he flinched, as though aware that he had said something harsh. Sorry, I didn't mean that. I stopped short, stunned by his statement. It's fine, I know you were mad at me, but that was a long time ago. I wish you could forgive me, though. I turned to Tar. Can we still be friends? Of course we can. What's done is done. It's never late to start over. It's good to see you again, Bun. Tar smiled at me, and it was the very same smile I used to say yes when he asked me to be his boyfriend. I didn't see anything suspicious about Tar's reactions, but I could detect a hint of resentment in his voice when I told him I had a boyfriend. I had once told Tan that an act of revenge and love was something totally absurd. Well, looks like I'll need to reconsider the situation once again. Despite the first stage of jet lag, due to the time zone difference of 12 hours, I forced myself to go to Tar's invitation to visit his restaurant. It was a Thai restaurant that Tar was a partner of, which located on the ground floor at the corner of an intersection in Queens. Despite its small size, the restaurant seemed quite successful to me, with people from diverse ethnic backgrounds coming for the famous Thai food. The decoration was simple, with only a few paintings of Thai ancient artwork hanging in the dining area. The air inside filled with the delicious aroma of food. Tar waved at a young Thai waitress while I was scanning the menu, which was beautifully designed. Unbelievable that rice topped with stir-fried pork and basil and a fried egg would cost 400 baht per dish. You don't have to order the food. I've prepared everything. Tar poured water into my glass. But if you want anything else, please let me know. No, I'm okay with whatever you have for me. I wasn't a picky eating person, but I couldn't help thinking that this was very typical of Tar. He was a man of leadership. He'd do whatever he thought fit without asking others for opinions. One of the reasons why it didn't work out between us was probably because I wasn't an obedient follower. I flipped the menu to a dessert selection with interest. Wow, you even have taro balls in coconut milk? And it's good, I tell you. I'll bring it out once we finish the main course. Tar looked at his watch. Steve said he's almost here 5 minutes ago. What took him so long? Tar fished out his cell phone to dial his boyfriend, but mine rang out the same moment. It was Tan calling me on FaceTime, and I immediately hit the accept button, revealing Tan's smiley face on the screen. You're awake? I greeted him. Sorry I didn't call you when I got the SIM card. It was 2 a.m. in Thailand at the time. That never stopped you before. You used to call me in the middle of the night, remember? I was mad you didn't give me a call this time. I raised my eyebrows. Don't seem mad to me. Tan laughed. Just kidding. You were right. I was sleeping. Where are you now? An idle chat between two people who were in this long-distance relationship went by. I told Tan that I was having dinner with one of my acquaintances in New York, and my boyfriend didn't seem skeptical about this. To be honest, a part of me feared that Tan would find out that this person was, in fact, Tar, my ex-boyfriend. However, the other part of me wanted to tell him everything. If he were to find out later, it would be a giant letdown for sure. Tar eyed me closely while I chatted, as if he wanted to know who was the person on the phone. Good luck with your class today. I'll call you in the evening. Never did I think I would find myself calling someone day and night, but Tan was a special someone to me, so I would do this just for him. Okay, I gotta go too. I have a class at 9. Bye. Right. And then I pressed end. The dinner was brought out of the kitchen, ready to be served. The first dish was an omelette with minced pork, followed by a beautifully decorated bowl of spicy prawn soup. Tar turned to rush the waitress to serve me a plate of rice before turning back to flash me a smile. Was that your boyfriend? Yes, I replied and turned to thank the waitress for bringing me the plate of rice. How long have you been dating? I could sense a change in his voice. I've known him for almost a year now, but we've been together for a couple of months. The way he looked at me now was the same way he used to do 12 years ago. It was so intimidating. One might have thought he considered destroying my relationship with Tan, like what he did with Prey and me. However, before I went that far with my speculation, I had to make sure it really was him. Sorry, I'm late. Tar, the subway was delayed. A voice laced with an American English accent drew Tar's attention away from me. I looked up at the newcomer, Steve Ying. The man looked even more handsome in real life. He wore a black leather jacket over a dark red turtleneck. His skin a light shade of pale, his eyes slate and sharp. His jet black hair was neatly set back. You're fine. The food just arrived. Tar spoke fluently, almost as good as the native speakers. He pulled Steve down by his arm to sit on the chair next to him. Tar gestured his hand towards me. This is my friend Bun. He's a forensic physician from Thailand. He's going to grad school to become a specialist. Steve held out his hand to me, and I extended mine, shaking our hands delightfully. It's nice to meet you. I'm Steve Ying. My name's Bun. Nice to meet you too. I only hoped that my Thai accent wouldn't sound too diabolical. Steve smiled widely. He was very charming. Well, no wonder Tar liked him. That's very cool, man. I bet your work must be fascinating. The conversation went smoothly. I realized that my communication skills in English were relatively well. I told them about my work while we enjoyed our food, which of course, the topic of my work was something lay people would find exhilarating. The time went shockingly fast, and we asked the waitress to take our pictures together. Steve seemed to enjoy talking to me. He urged Tar to have a night out like this again, and both Tar and I were okay with it. Tar volunteered to drive me to a townhouse where I was going to live during my study in New York. The landlady was a good-humored Thai woman who was married to an American guy. She was happy to rent out one of her rooms to me, on the condition that I must not bring back body parts from school. I had assured her that I wouldn't do such a thing. I opened the car door when Tar pulled over in front of the townhouse. Steve, I'll see my friend to the door. Be right back. Tar informed his boyfriend, who was sitting next to the driver's seat, before opening the door and walking me to the front door of the house. Hey, thanks for today, I told Tar while rummaging for the key in the pocket of my coat. Things would have sucked without you. No, it's okay. Anything you need, you let me know, Bun. I'm the one who should be happy that you haven't forgotten me. I kept looking at Tar coolly for a while. Tar, I have a favor to ask you. Tar raised his eyebrows quizzically. What is it? Could you keep this a secret? The fact that we agreed to meet here, I mean, I don't want my boyfriend to find out. I looked down at my feet. He's very sensitive. If he knew that I talked to my ex without telling him, he would be very angry with me. We'd fight, you know? We have been through a lot together, and I don't want to ruin it. Of course. I don't even know who he is, so don't worry about it. Tara slapped my shoulder. Go inside, Bun. It's chilly out here. You'll catch a cold since you're not accustomed to it yet. Drive safe. Okay. Good night, Bun. With that, Tara turned around and marched back to his car. After twisting the key and getting into the house, I leaned against the wall, trying to calm myself. I pulled out my cell phone. Tan should be teaching right now since it was daytime on Saturday in Thailand. I typed out a message and hit send. Call me when you're free. We need to talk. Although I came here to study toxicology, science related to medicine and various toxic substances, Professor Maxime, the head of the medical jurisprudence department, had entrusted me with the post-mortem examination task outside the department with one female professor and 2 other residents. I followed them into the van, which headed to the scene in the southern part of Manhattan. A John Doe was found floating on the Hudson. The body was bloated, and a gunshot wound was found embedded in his head. I ducked under the yellow tape, which had been wrapped around the scene, looking around the vicinity excitedly. It had been a long time since I was an observer in a crime scene. Professor Denna introduced me to the police, saying that I was a forensic pathologist professor from Thailand, and this allowed me to observe the scene more closely. I watched their work with interest, the pair of residents walking in to examine the John Doe expertly. The police received a report of a body which has been found by the marina. Professor Denna stepped in next to me. She was a beautiful American, and despite her petite form, her bold personality and agile body suited the fact that she was a pathologist. Too bad we couldn't find his ID card, otherwise means must be taken into account in the identification. Of course. I made my way around the other side to get a better look at John Doe's head. Bloated corpses usually looked pretty alike that it was hard to determine their identification based solely on their physical appearance. I then noticed something unusual. Huh. What's wrong, Professor? Dana called out to me. The bullet hits his temple and comes out the other side of his head. The bullet path is horizontal to the surface of the earth. He could have been shot from his side or had committed suicide and fell into the river. We also need to consider the shooting range. It was unlikely that he was shot while he was in the water, so we need to cut him open to see if that was the case. I tried to convey what I thought without knowing if my sentences were grammatically correct or not. One of the residents also noticed the same thing I did, and he turned to Professor Denna as if he wanted her to help him look at the body. She turned to smile at me. Looks like we have more to discuss about this case. Come with us. It seems like you would be great help to us. How was it? Any progress? As soon as I walked out of the subway, I called Tan. I was on the phone and walked to my house, which was about 3 blocks away. I had just finished the autopsy from a recent scene, so now I had arrived at the metro station near my house at 7:30 p.m. Aside from the pictures he posted on his wall, I still got nothing. Tan replied, No one tells on you yet. Is that so? I sighed. Maybe I'm chasing the wrong guy. No, I think something doesn't add up. You asked him not to tell me about you meeting him, but he still uploaded those pictures of you 3 at the restaurant. He did that on purpose. Tan sounded angry. Here is what I was trying to do this whole time. I was trying to formulate a plan to expose his malevolent scheme to destroy other people's love life. If my boyfriend were to learn about what I told Tara that night, he would probably be very angry with me. This might give Tara some idea of what he should do next. If he still wanted to destroy my life, I was sure he wouldn't miss this golden opportunity. The next thing I did was confess I contacted Tara without telling Tan. Tan was angry at first, giving me a lengthy reprimand about the secret I had been keeping. But in the end, he understood that I needed guidance in how to live in a foreign country. It would be easier to ask for help for someone I knew. Tan said that if he were me, he would have done the same, except hiding the truth from me. The next day, Tar posted the picture of the three of us in his restaurant on his Facebook wall, but didn't tag me in the process. I sent a message to ask him about it, and he only claimed that Steve forced him to do it. Therefore, he didn't really have a choice. He said he didn't tag me to prevent my Facebook friends from seeing it. Tan saw this as something intentional. "Bun, how about this?" Tan suggested. "Maybe Tar still doesn't know I'm your boyfriend, 'cause we've never posted anything about us on social media." I stopped in my track, frowning. "What do you suggest we do?" "We gotta reveal our epic love on Facebook, of course. Update your relationship status on Facebook, upload our couple pics. I'll become a sitting duck. If this Tar guy wants to tell me on you, he will find a way to get to me." Although it wasn't such a bad idea to begin with, I couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. "You really want to do this?" "You're okay with that, right?" "I'll just do it now, 1 sec." Just like that, Tan hung up on me. Wait! I looked at the phone nervously. Damn you, Tan. I reached my bedroom at the same time as I was notified someone tagged me on Facebook. I sat down on the bed. It took me a long time to move my fingers and open up the picture I was tagged. The picture wasn't the one with Tan and I in it. Turned out it was the picture of only me, reading a thick textbook in a coffee shop. Tan probably took this picture without me even realizing it. A message above the picture said, "You're never too far away because I know we're close in the heart, my doctor." 3 heart-shaped emoticons were added after his cheesy quote. I felt like my lunch was about to spill out of my throat. I immediately called Tan. "What the hell are you doing? Are you messing with me?" I said in a cold voice, hearing Tan's happy laugh on the other end of the line. "Why? I think it's cute. My post got many likes in a matter of seconds. Oh wait, there are comments." He read it out loud for me. "Scream. Is that your boyfriend, Teacher Tan? I'm so envious." I massaged my throbbing temples. "Delete it now." "Nope, leave it like that. A perfect decoy." Tan sounded too cheerful that I started to get annoyed. "He won't get away this time. He'll fall right into my trap. If he still holds a grudge against you and wants to destroy your life, he won't be able to stand the sight of our epic romantic moment." "But we don't usually do this sappy shit." "You think so? Okay, just you wait. Something's gonna happen. Today. Tar might even contact me himself, which is highly unlikely, and then we'll pretend like we're having a fight. You need to observe his reaction. I give you 3 days. If this decoy plan doesn't work, into the delete bin it goes." "Aw." Tan was silent for a few seconds. "Alright, fine. But if it works, I'll keep this picture on my Facebook wall forever, and I'll keep posting our pictures in the future." I went still, something starting to bloom inside my chest. The feeling made me sort of comfortable. At first, I thought it was anger, but then I didn't want to berate Tan for his action. My face heated up like I was sick with a fever. A combination of embarrassment and joy upon the fact that Tan wanted to go public with our relationship, probably. Now I began to understand why women used to urge me to post a couple pictures with them. "Bun?" Tan uttered my name when I was quiet for a long time. "Sure, whatever." I had no idea why I had to pretend to be upset. "Okay, are you gonna take a shower now?" I removed the scarf from my neck. The temperature in the room was comfortably warm compared to the temperature outside at this moment. "Yeah, I'm gonna take a shower after this." The temperature was in the single digits all day. It's fucking cold. Oh, and I performed an autopsy outside the school today. It's like being in a movie. At first, I was just standing there, afraid to voice my opinion, And when I did, the professor let me join the autopsy as well. Because you're good at it. The pride of our country. You're exaggerating, but it's pretty exciting back there. I'm glad they've noticed what I could do. I intended to run a shower before 8 p.m. to study before bed, but instead I was on the phone with Tan for over an hour. It had become my daily routine. We would tell each other what happened during the day in our separate lives. For Tan, his tutoring business was going well. A number of students had enrolled in his courses that his schedule had become busy. However, he was selling his houses. Tan told me that he was looking for a spot to rent to start his new cram school, and Boone was helping him. Tan was good at what he was doing. I was certain that he would become a successful man in no time. Everyone said that long-distance relationships were tough. However, as long as we could be in constant communication, I believed we had nothing to worry about. After I ended the phone call, I opened up Line Chat and scrolled to contact someone I used to know. My last message to her had been sent last year. I looked down at it for a long period of time before typing out a message. I didn't know if she still wanted to talk to me because we were gone from each other's lives, as if there had never been anything between us. You busy? I need to ask you something.